Hi there, my name is Vic Veer. I'm an ENT consultant working for the NHS in central London. And today I want to talk to you about mouth taping. I know it's a big thing that everyone's talking about. You know, footballers are taping their mouth and how it's amazingly solved their sleep problems and things like that. But I'm just going to explain why I'm not a fan of it, but there are some good things about it. And I'll go through those first. Well, the way it works is that instead of putting a mouth tape on and thinking that it increases the amount of oxygen in your system, that's why you feel better, it's not really doing that at all. What it's doing is just forcing you to breathe through your nose. And because you get less sort of ventilation when you use your nose compared to your mouth, it slowly increases the amount of carbon dioxide in your system. It doesn't increase the amount of oxygen at all. It doesn't do anything like that. But it increases the amount of carbon dioxide because you're not ventilating as well as you used to. If you increase the amount of carbon dioxide, your body becomes ever so slightly more acidic. When it becomes acidic, the body reacts to this and it's a bit like an adrenaline rush. The adrenaline, what it does is it opens up your nose and opens up your lungs, which is why I think originally it was Buteyko that started, some Russian guy who used it for people with asthma. People with asthma tend to overbreathe, breathe off their carbon dioxide too much, and then they get asthma attacks because their lungs, the lungs sort of scrunch up to try and stop you from losing so much carbon dioxide, and that causes an asthma attack. Well, that's what he thought anyway. It's obviously a lot more complicated than that. And by restricting your breathing, what it does is that it opens up the lungs because your body starts thinking, well, he's not ventilating off this carbon dioxide. We can release the lungs now so more air can get in. So it's a really useful thing if you're having an asthma attack, particularly with exercise-induced asthma. But we're talking about your nose. In terms of the nose, it also opens up your nose as well, so more air can get in. It's just a physiological response. We all have it. If I hold my breath and pinch my nose like this for a little bit and waited till my face went red and I felt like I couldn't hold any more and I let go, my nose would be automatically slightly unblocked. And that's how this works. If you're taping your mouth at night, you're forcing yourself to breathe through your nose. And if your nose is blocked slightly, because of the lining of your nose is all swollen because of an allergy or something like that. So your nose is all congested. Because this process of increasing the amount of carbon dioxide in your system, making you more acidic, this opens up your nose by shrinking these turbinates down. That's a normal body response. And that's how mouth taping works in terms of opening up your nose. Now, there are several reasons why I don't actually like mouth taping. It's mostly for the people who have, say, a blocked nose. So if you've got a blocked nose, but it's not due to inflamed large inferior turbinates, so the lining of your nose isn't just congested that you can just hold your breath and suddenly everything shrinks down when you've raised your carbon dioxide levels high enough. Maybe your nose is blocked because your nose is twisted like this. And so if your nose is twisted and your bones are off to one side, no matter how long you hold your breath for, it's not going to straighten out the bones and the cartilage in your nose. It's not going to do anything. All you're doing is closing your mouth and desperately trying to breathe through a narrow airway, which is never going to get better. So you need to be checked over for that, definitely. And what if you have big polyps? That's not going to decrease in size if you hold your breath. They're just going to stay there blocking your breathing. And then you'll be struggling to try and breathe through your mouth at night. And it's a dangerous thing. You shouldn't do it. I will say, however, going back to why I think it might be useful, in some people who have no other problems, no sleep apnea or anything like that, if they have had their nose, the septum corrected so they're straightened up again and they've removed their polyps or everything and they can now breathe through their nose, an awful lot of people, even though they can breathe through their nose again, they've habituated, they've learned to breathe through their mouth for so long, it's really hard to go back to breathing through their nose again. It doesn't seem to happen in children. Children are just great. They'll just go back to breathing through their nose straight away after an adenoidectomy or something like that. But in adults, we're a bit stupid and we just carry on breathing through our mouth even though the nose is open and ready to be used. So in that situation, assuming you don't have obstructive sleep apnea, a little bit of mouth tape here, knowing that you can breathe through your nose and there's no other risk, is actually okay, because after about sort of 4 to 6 weeks of using the mouth tape, you've rehabituated yourself to breathing through your nose again. You don't have to use it so often. And then you can sleep with your mouth closed and everyone is happy and there's no problems again. But I did mention several times that if you have obstructive sleep apnea, you shouldn't do this at all. Now, there's obviously lots of reasons for this. One is that if you've got obstructive sleep apnea, that means your oxygen levels are dropping at night. So actual oxygen levels, it's not your carbon dioxide levels going up, which is often the first thing that happens. It's the oxygen levels are dropping. So the way I explain this sometimes is say, look, I'm going to make you run around this building so many times as fast as you can until you land in front of the office like this, gasping for breath, and you just can't move anymore. If I checked your oxygen then, your oxygen levels are probably much the same. Your carbon dioxide levels will be a bit higher and you'll be panting. No one pants on the floor like this. No one does that. Everyone breathes like this with their tongue wide out, trying to get air in, because you get more air in through your mouth. But if you remember with obstructive sleep apnea, your oxygen levels actually dip. And you do need to get as much air in as possible in that situation. That's why you have an adrenaline response from your system to pump air in, to get you to go like this, to get oxygen into your lungs. It's not a carbon dioxide problem. It's more of an oxygen problem with sleep apnea. So doing this to someone is probably not a good idea, because what you're doing is blocking off their main way of being able to breathe when this rush of adrenaline happens in the middle of the night. It's worth knowing as well that you don't realize you're doing this. The person next to you often doesn't realize you're doing this. 80% of people have no idea that they've got obstructive sleep apnea. They take these big intakes of breathing. The partner themselves have no recollection of this ever happening. So the only way you can tell if you've got obstructive sleep apnea is maybe doing the stop bang test, the questionnaire on the internet, or more importantly, doing a proper sleep study, not a pulse oximetry, which some people give out, a proper sleep study to see if you get little dips in your oxygen, and therefore you should not use mouth taping because you're blocking off your ability to breathe. Now, some people say, well, I don't block it off completely. It's not like a hostage situation. A hostage situation, I'm not sure if you heard that. A hostage situation, you're not blocking off your breathing altogether. I just do a little tape like this, which I guess makes sense. It's at least safer. You can breathe around the side of it like that. But I don't particularly like that either. And I'm going to be a bit annoying about this, because a lot of people with obstructive sleep apnea, it's because their jaw and their tongue falls back, particularly if they've got a blocked nose. So if you've got a blocked nose, you're trying to improve your breathing through your nose. You tape your mouth. Taping your mouth like this might improve it if you can close your mouth. But with obstructive sleep apnea, what happens is that your jaw falls back. Taping your lips together isn't going to stop your jaw and your tongue from falling back. It's only going to block off a little bit of air, and you're still going to have the same amount of obstructive sleep apnea. So mouth taping doesn't make any sense at all in that situation. I prefer if you used a good quality chin strap, because what you're doing is you're putting a strap around like this, closing your mouth like this. You can still breathe through your mouth if you really need to, so it's relatively safe. But you're also bringing your jaw forward. So you're going from here to closing your mouth like this, and learning to breathe like that, particularly if someone's opened up your nose so you can breathe through your nose. Bringing your jaw from here to here makes an awful lot of sense. The mouth tape doesn't do that. The chin strap, particularly the Knightsbridge dual strap one, don't do it too tight because then you're pushing your tongue up. And don't use the ones that go from here to here because it's pushing your jaw back. You want the one that goes around the front like this. Closing your mouth, keeping your teeth together and your lips together if you can manage it, is more important for the obstructive sleep apnea. It doesn't cause as much danger to you. I still don't think it's a great idea if your nose is blocked. And if you've got severe obstructive sleep apnea, still, I think even a chin strap is not a great idea. But it does help some people. And often I give that advice to people who've had a drug-induced sleep endoscopy. So what I do is I look in their nose and go, oh, your nose is blocked. I'm going to have to fix that. I look down the back of the throat and says, oh, look, your tongue's a problem. But if I close your mouth whilst you're sleeping, which you can't do because you have a blocked nose, if I close your mouth, I notice that the tongue falls out the way and suddenly you can breathe much better. The only problem is that you need to keep your mouth closed and you need to be able to breathe through your nose. So an awful lot of these people, I'm blocking their nose and saying, look, you have a tongue problem, but let's try and avoid operating on the tongue. Why don't you just close your mouth? And now that your nose is open, so rehabituate yourself to breathing through your nose. Wear the chin strap for 4 to 6 weeks or so. Learn to sleep with your mouth closed and use your nose to breathe through at night. And hopefully we can avoid operating on your tongue altogether and your sleep apnea will get better that way, because after 6 weeks, you can take off the chin strap at night and sleep normally, and fingers crossed, that's all you need. Anyway, I went on to a few tangents there. Hopefully that makes sense. That's why I don't particularly like mouth tape. I think, frankly, it's mostly dangerous unless you've had a lot of investigations already. I know all the footballers are doing it, and I'm sure the Kardashians are doing it. I don't know who care. I don't care who's doing it, but it's almost a medical device. So just be careful. Please be careful, and hopefully that helps some people. It gave me an idea about doing a video on tongue problems. I'll come back to that now. Okay, bye-bye.